A Russian oil pumping station Krasnodar Krai is still on fire after reportedly being struck by Ukrainian drones on March 19, with further explosions reported overnight. During the extinguishing process, due to depressurization of the burning tank, there was an explosion of oil products and release of burning oil, regional officials said. Ukrainian drones attacked the Kavkazskaya oil pumping station, damaging infrastructure and causing a fire, pro-Kremlin news outlet SHOT and regional authorities previously claimed. The attack reportedly damaged a pipeline connecting storage tanks, initially sparking a fire that covered an area of about 20 square meters. The fire now covers an area of 10,000 square meters and 2 firefighters have been injured while tackling the blaze. The Kavkazskaya oil transshipment point is crucial in Russia's energy exports, connecting a railroad oil terminal and the Kropotkinskaya oil pumping station. It is part of the Caspian Pipeline Consortium system, which pumps up to 6 million metric tons of oil annually. Russian independent ASTRA Telegram channel says that a massive fire has engulfed the Naftatrans oil depot in the village of Kavkazskaya in Russia's Krasnodar Krai following a drone attack. The fire is out of control. The smoke is spreading to the city. We've shut our windows and doors and are waiting for instructions, a resident told ASTRA. They can't put it out. The base is completely on fire, it no longer exists. Everything will burn to the ground, an eyewitness said on ASTRA. The Naftatrans depot, linked to a railway oil terminal and a pipeline in the Caspian Pipeline Consortium system, was believed to store up to 100,000 tons of petroleum products. Local reports indicate there are casualties among firefighters. Russia has attempted to use the attack as evidence that Ukraine has already broken a partial ceasefire of attacks on energy infrastructure agreed upon by Russian President Vladimir Putin in a call with US President Donald Trump on March 18. We believe that the Kiev regime has already broken the ceasefire proposed by the US President, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said on March 20, in comments reported by Reuters. Now the question is, you will forgive me, how is Washington going to handle this terrorist scum gone mad? How are they going to put them in their place and get them on to something like the right track, she added. A potential peacekeeping mission in Ukraine would include not only ground troops, but also powerful air force and naval units. Bloomberg writes about this. As the agency specifies, at a recent meeting of the Allied Chiefs of Staff in London, it was agreed that ensuring peace in Ukraine will require both a land presence and a presence in the air and at sea. Currently, issues of deployment of aircraft, in particular British Typhoon fighters, as well as issues of their refueling and maintenance are being discussed. Today, the possible contours of a peacekeeping mission look like this. British and French peacekeepers will be deployed in major Ukrainian cities, strategic ports and critical infrastructure facilities. It is planned to deploy patrol ships and minesweepers in the Black Sea. Aircraft and additional ground forces will most likely be deployed in Ukraine's neighbors Poland and Romania. According to journalists, at the moment about 30 countries are ready to participate in the peacekeeping mission. We are talking mainly about European countries. They intend to provide troops, aircraft, ships, reconnaissance, and also provide funding. Among non-European countries, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and Japan are participating in the negotiations. Furthermore, French President Emmanuel Macron is proposing the creation of a UN-led mission that could prevent a new Russian attack on Ukraine if a peace deal is reached, the Telegraph reports. Macron is exploring various scenarios that could replace sending a European military contingent to Ukraine. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is also involved in developing this plan. According to the publication, the French leader is considering the possibility of creating a UN-led peacekeeping mission aimed at protecting future peace agreements. Macron and Starmer are initiating the formation of a coalition of the willing among NATO and EU countries to create a peacekeeping force backed by security guarantees from the United States. Macron raised the possibility of a UN peacekeeping mission during a European Council summit with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. This comes as the British Prime Minister emphasizes not the direct involvement of European troops in Ukraine, but increased air and naval support to ensure the country's security. As media reported earlier, it became known that French President Emmanuel Macron is trying to attract the international community to support Ukraine. However, this initiative puts him on the path of confrontation with US President Donald Trump. The US President sees the ceasefire as a way to resume cooperation with Russia. In turn, Vladimir Putin, in a conversation with Trump, demanded a complete halt to arms supplies to Ukraine, which will force Macron to essentially abandon his efforts to mobilize support for Kiev.
The Russian army has failed to either push the Ukrainian armed forces out of the Kursk region or take the Ukrainian group in pincers. The offensive has stalled. This was reported by the Russian Z resource Northern Channel associated with the Russian army. According to him, the Russian armed forces are unable to break through to Bazovka to take control of the Ukrainian forces' logistics routes on the Kursk bridgehead. The Russian command regularly sends soldiers on ATV assaults in this area, which invariably result in defeats. Bazovka. The southern part is still behind Ukrainian forces. We are still trying to bring assault groups there in quads, and still without much success. It is obvious that the enemy has firmly entrenched itself, and it will not be possible to simply dislodge it, the Russian Z channel wrote. He reported that the advancing Russian forces were bogged down in the Gogolevka area. According to him, the Ukrainian forces were holding on to every meter, preventing the Russians from advancing quickly. Guevo. The advance has stalled. The enemy has managed to regroup, brought up reserves and went on the defensive, Severny Canal wrote. In addition, the Russian army has to be distracted by the Belgorod region. There, in the border area, armed clashes continue. According to Z Channel, the Ukrainian armed forces are probing the Russian defense and preparing a new attack. Recall in August 2024, Ukrainian forces launched a surprise offensive into Russia's Kursk region, initially seizing approximately 1,300 square kilometers of territory. This marked the first ground invasion of Russia by a foreign power since World War II and caught Moscow by surprise and unprepared. The primary objectives of this incursion were to divert Russian military resources from eastern Ukraine, disrupt Russian supply lines, and strengthen Ukraine's position in potential peace negotiations. The operation initially succeeded in capturing key locations, including the town of Sudza, thereby disrupting Russian logistics and command structures. As of March 2025, Russian forces have reclaimed most of the territory in the Kursk region previously held by Ukraine. The initial Ukrainian incursion did achieve some temporary strategic advantages, such as diverting Russian troops from other fronts and disrupting their operations. However, the long-term territorial gains were not sustained, and the situation remains dynamic, with ongoing military engagements in various sectors. Ukrainian troops have withdrawn from most of Russia's Kursk region. However, intensified Russian counterattacks, particularly the destruction of a key Ukrainian supply line near Sudza, compelled Ukrainian forces to withdraw. Now the opposite is happening.